Welcome to the Recaps channel. In today's video, we'll recap career opportunities. Let's get started. Jim Dodge sees himself as someone who has everything figured out, but in reality, he doesn't know what he's talking about. His reputation isn't great because people think he talks too much and is useless when it comes to actual work. He creates stories about his past experiences and tells kids that he's rich and successful, but all of it is just a lie. He knows adults would laugh at him if he said the same things to them. Later, at a diner, he talks to the waitress about the various foods he's eaten. Jim goes to a gas station and pleads with the owner to give him a job there, but the owner refuses. Before leaving, Jim encounters a beautiful and wealthy girl named Josie, who arrives in her fancy car. Jim attempts to impress her, and surprisingly, Josie seems amused and waves back at him. However, their interaction is cut short when Jim's father, Bud Dodge, approaches and expresses his frustration with his irresponsible son's joblessness. He then takes Jim home, leaving a less than desirable impression on Josie. Later, during dinner, Jim's sister reveals that Josie has left town and moved to New York. Jim claims that he saw Josie earlier that day and even had coffee together. When he shares this with his father is surprised and then informs the family that Jim lost his job again and won't be able to pay the rent anymore. The next morning, Jim's father finds Jim sleeping in late. He wakes Jim up and takes him to Target. During the drive, Jim's father warns him that if he doesn't get a job at Target, he'll be sent to St. Louis where his uncle works as a gardener. This threat upsets Jim, and he tries to emotionally manipulate his father by questioning if his father wants him to move out of his life. His father clarifies that he only wants Jim to move out of his house, not his life. After being dropped off at the store, Jim interviews for a job. However, during the interview, the mall director mistakenly thinks Jim is there for a different position. Instead of correcting him, Jim goes along with it and accepts the job offer without mentioning the misunderstanding. When the director proposes a salary, Jim rejects it and suggests a different amount, to which the director agrees, and Jim accepts the offer. As the interview is about to conclude, the director receives a call informing him that the intended candidate for the job has missed his flight and will be late. Realizing the mistake, the director offers Jim a job as a night cleanup boy for $4 an hour, which Jim accepts. Meanwhile, Josie's wealthy father is having a meeting with two gentlemen. When Josie enters, her father asks her to greet the men, but to his surprise, she kisses one of them on the lips. After the meeting, her father confronts her and warns her not to repeat such behavior. Later that night, two men are seen stealing a car. The following day, Jim surprises everyone, including his father, by hiring a limo to drive him to work. On his way, he encounters the kids he usually tells his made-up stories to. He boasts about heading to the airport to catch a flight to Paris for a meeting with the vice president of Bulgaria, pretending to be important. At his workplace, Jim starts acting like a boss to the other employees, even though they have no idea who he really is. Meanwhile, Josie is also at the mall shoplifting. Jim's boss, the head custodian, approaches him and explains all the tasks he needs to complete, from cleaning the coffee maker to ensuring the entire mall is spotless. Jim is taken aback by the extensive list of instructions. Once the boss finishes, he locks all the doors from the outside, leaving Jim alone in the mall for the entire night. Jim protests, yelling that no one told him he would be working alone overnight. However, the boss ignores his concerns and drives away without looking back. Before leaving, the boss also sets the lights to go off, except for the aisle lights, to avoid a high electricity bill. After some time, Jim comes to terms with the situation and starts cleaning. He faces difficulties operating some of the equipment. During a break, he snacks from the store. Feeling bored, he calls his parents to discuss Christmas plans, but they hang up on him, as it's too late. As Jim continues his solo adventure in the mall, he starts to have fun. He explores the premises and even plays some drums. He finds a pair of roller skates, puts them on, and glides around the mall. While skating, he spots Josie and gets shocked, leading to an accidental fall onto some items in the mall. Meanwhile, Josie's father goes to the police station to report his missing daughter, and the police begin searching for her. At the mall, Josie explains to Jim that she fell asleep there and considered getting arrested for shoplifting but changed her mind. She confides that she's not happy living with her father as he's unpleasant. Feeling hungry, Jim uses the mall's microwave to prepare a meal for himself and Josie. He then tells her that his father works as a cement contractor and was the one who poured the cement for the pool at her house. Jim continues to talk incessantly, and Josie notices that he never seems to stop. When she asks if he always talks that much, Jim surprisingly admits that he doesn't usually do so. Josie suggests that Jim should consider going into sales, as it might suit him better than his current situation. Jim reveals that he has tried sales before, but it didn't go well for him. After they eat, they sit together and chat. Jim brags to Josie that he likes to smoke an expensive cigarette after a meal. In turn, Josie reveals that Jim's known as the town liar. This revelation briefly upsets Jim, but he quickly brushes it off and resumes talking once again. Josie points out to Jim that he still has a lot of cleaning to do, but he brushes it off, mentioning that there is still plenty of time until morning. She confesses her plan to steal some goods as a means to get arrested, hoping it will allow her to escape from her despised father. Josie believes Jim is lucky for having a life he enjoys, but Jim disagrees, as he is unhappy working as a night cleaner. Feeling offended, Jim believes Josie is highlighting his flaws and returns to his cleaning duties. While Jim is cleaning, Josie plays some rock music and Jim starts dancing along. However, Josie turns off the music when she sees him dancing. She uses the PA system to communicate with Jim, urging him to be truthful about what he wants for his future and if he genuinely enjoys living in his parents' house. Jim insists that he wasn't lying earlier, and Josie joins him outside. They have a conversation about their desires, and Jim eventually admits that he had been dishonest. They discuss the negative aspects of their lives. Jim suggests that Josie, being wealthy, could simply talk to her father or leave him, just as he could do with his own parents. They both realize that their fear of living alone prevents them from making such decisions. Josie proposes that they should leave town and move to California together. Jim initially disagrees with Josie's plan to run away, but when she reveals the abuse she suffers from her father, he sympathizes and agrees with her. Josie tells Jim that she has $52,000 in her purse, which they can use to start a new life together. They decide to run away the next morning. As they dance together, their closeness leads to a kiss. Meanwhile, Josie's father and the sheriff arrive at the store, searching for her. Jim lies, denying that he has seen Josie. While they wait for the morning, Jim and Josie have fun together. Two crooks, Nestor and Gil, break into the store, and while Jim and Josie are skating, they accidentally knock out the criminals. However, the thieves wake up, find Jim and Josie, and interrogate them about their identities. Jim cleverly tricks the crooks and forces them to surrender, but they reveal that their guns are not loaded. Despite the tense situation, Josie seduces one of the criminals and persuades him to take her along after the robbery. As they load stolen merchandise into their car, Josie drives away, leaving the two crooks stranded. Inside the building, Jim finds a shotgun and uses it to trick Nestor and Gil, holding them at gunpoint in the back of the store. In the morning, a police officer arrives and finds the tied-up crooks thanks to Jim's actions. Jim and Josie escape and are later seen lounging next to a pool in Hollywood. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoyed the video. See you again here on the Recaps channel.